Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on TrueGreen 7. Now, in the past we've checked out his series of giving pre-evolutions to legendary Pokemon. So, as the title says up there, you can see that today he's gonna be giving evolutions to legendary Pokemon. I almost said we, like I'm a part of it. Nah, I'm just a viewer. Here we go.
Hey guys, Ron here, and over the last year I released a couple of videos where I made pre-evolved forms of legendary Pokemon, so how about I do the opposite, creating evolved forms for legendaries. But most legendary Pokemon look even more elaborate than the average evolved form Pokemon. Thankfully, there's a subset of legendaries known as Mythicals, and even more specifically, what is fan-dubbed as Pixie Mythicals. Basically, all of those tiny mythical Pokemon with 600 base stat totals. Those definitely have room for evolution. I'm going to try to expand on the designs and lores of these Mythicals and give them some character development to complete their arcs. Make sure to check out my previous Pokemon creation videos and consider leaving a like and subscribing if this is your cup of tea. Remember that many of the Pokemon that I made this year and will continue to make in the next year will be part of a future region I'm developing. So stay tuned and check out the previous Stakemon videos I made, like the legendary pre-evolution videos I already created. When you're done with this video, at least.
Check them out.
So let's begin with the first mythical in the franchise, Mew. I'm not explaining Mew, but I will explain my concept for its evolved form. The idea is basically going to be expanded from the fact that Mew contains the DNA of all Pokemon. I'm going to create an original Mew, this Alpha Mew Prime that showcases Mew's true power and potential. Not only does it have the ability to transform, but has the ability to transform the DNA of others. It's basically inspired by the notion that aliens came to our planet and tampered with the DNA of early hominids, creating humans in the process. It'll look like a mix between...
Hold on, folks. We'll be right back. I gotta do something. And I'm back.
Mew and Mewtwo, but basically the idea that Mewtwo was always supposed to look like it wasn't a genetic experiment. I'm also going to make it more explicitly related to the Lake Guardians, since there's a theory that Mew and the Lake Guardians are related species. I'm starting with a more mature Mew face, taking some inspiration from Mewtwo, but more soft and friendly. We're also making sure to not include any of Mewtwo's genetic experiment elements, like his head tube. It's basically a naturally born Mewtwo. Its arms are longer versions of Mew's cute arms, so nothing too anatomically human. Same idea for the legs. At this point, I thought it looked too simple, like a stretched Mew. That's when I realized I wanted to add some of the Lake Guardian face patterns to allude to the theory that they're related. I also included some of their gems as well. The whole time I wanted to make its tail have a double helix DNA motif, alluding to its powers. Originally I thought purple made it look like a mature Mew, but it ended up making it look too much like a Mewtwo, and even Frieza,
like a Mewtwo.
So dark pink it is. It'll be pinkier, or even pinker, in the final render. Behold, Mewtint.
I like
the old
that.
species Pokemon, from Meow, Mutant, and Tint, to allude to the fact that it can transform and therefore change type and color. Decades after the discovery of the new species Mew and the creation of its clone, Mewtwo, this Pokemon was theorized to exist. Once captured by a famous trainer, Mewtwo began to communicate about visions it received from space, perhaps from this theorized Pokemon, Mutant. It is believed that Mutant is the fully evolved form of Mew. It contains the DNA of all Pokemon within it, but can also alter the DNA of others. It is believed that Mutant came down to Earth in ancient times to create modern Pokemon using its DNA tampering abilities.
Now that would be a way of explaining Delta Pokemon. I like it.
Perhaps before its arrival, Pokemon did not harness the elements and have the ability to communicate between species. Archaeologists believe it was created by Arceus along with the Lake Guardians of Sinnoh. It is unfathomably intelligent. We do not know its goals, but are sure it does not possess ill will. We believe it will protect Earth as long as the remaining Mew are not harmed. Mewtwo has become obsessed with meeting Mutant. Mewtwo says that it's excited by the prospect of learning from such a powerful rival. In fact, that's how Mew on Earth evolved into Mutant. It comes into contact with a Mewtwo who has seen visions of Mutant. When Mewtwo telepathically shows Mew images of Mutant, Mew regains memories and remembers that it can even evolve into Mutant, along with a sudden boost in intelligence, triggering evolution. This would only happen in the Fakemon region I'm currently developing, in which you're able to capture a Mewtwo with these visions in the postgame. Mutant has the ability to synchronize, but it was super tough making a natural-looking evolution to Mew that looks both like an adult Mew, but also has some similarities to Mewtwo, whose traits were manifested inside of Mewtwo because of it technically sharing Mutant's DNA as well. Perhaps scientists were trying to make a clone of Mew, and it came out looking a bit like Mutant, mixed with test tubes and human DNA, thus making Mewtwo look the way it does. I love the energy this Pokemon has. Intimidating, super intelligent looking, but potentially friendly.
Oop. Hold on, folks. We got an ad. And we're back.
Next is, well, the
Ooh,
second mythical
okay.
Game Freak ever gave us, Celebi. Celebi's name comes from its Japanese name, Celebi, which potentially comes from the Roman goddess of agriculture, Ceres. I'm going to turn Celebi into a fully fledged agricultural spirit. It'll be based on
Yes.
benevolent fairies, and will go from protecting the forest to full-on helping civilizations grow crops. And of course, time travel shenanigans will be part of its lore too.
Timey-wimey,
But that has
wibbly
nothing to do with the
wobbly.
design, so let's go. It's a blooming Celebi. The flower is finally popping out, and instead of antennas, it'll have antenna-like stamens in the flower. I didn't know if I wanted it to have a pose like it was racing through the sky and time, or a graceful fairy pose. I'll eventually opt for the graceful fairy. I know I want it to have
Okay.
a flower dress, but I also don't want it to look too feminine. I'm changing the pose completely, and slowly turning the dress into more of a gown or a long coat with coattails. Less Tinkerbell, more ambiguously gendered ballerina. This pose is incredibly majestic, but after figuring out the layout of the flower, the colors really bring it all together. I mean, what's
Oh,
a flower
completely.
without its color? It's a darker Celebi, nothing unexpected. Meet Celisif, the season Pokemon. From Ceres, a Roman goddess of agriculture, Sylph, which is a fairy, and Sif, the Norse goddess of fertility. What's funny is
I
that it was
like
originally
it.
going to be called Celisylph, but I by mistake left out the L, and once I looked back at this deck sheet, I realized my mistake, but chose to keep it spelled this way when I remembered of the existence of Sif, the Norse goddess and Thor's wife. Celisif is a fairy type now.
Oh,
After
okay.
wandering through time as a
Not
Celebi,
bad.
Celisif chose our time to settle in and protect. Celisif only does this once they find a human who is kind to nature and Pokemon. They watch over crops and will cause them to grow instantly using their time travel abilities. Instead of jumping through time themselves, Celisif is able to change the age of entire acres of land, allowing them to naturally grow in an instant. Celisif does
Wow.
not hide itself from humans, because it knows it has the power to vanquish anyone who wants to abuse it and its power. The nectar from its cranium flower can heal anything it touches. Celebi actually evolves into Celisif in my future region after meeting a pure of heart farmer. There's a small farm in my future region right next to the player's hometown, and it seemingly has nothing to offer, but you'll be rewarded if you go there with Celebi. It has the ability Natural Cure.
Love it.
By now, you'll notice that the shinies are inspired by the shinies of their Prevos. I've always wanted to see a fairy-type Celebi evolution, even before fairy-type was a thing.
Yeah, it
I
needs
hope it
to be
manages to be
fairy.
pretty without being too feminine, since I want Celebi to always be ambiguous in that department.
Who's
Next is Keldeo. I'm a
Oh.
relatively big Swords of Justice fan.
Keldeo, huh? I mean, an interesting choice.
I kind of like them all. So now I want to make the ultimate Sword of Justice. One I'm sure most people will like. A grown-up Keldeo. We're basically going to take a little colt and make him a full-grown stallion, with some of the design traits of the other Swords of Justice. Keep in mind
Yeah,
that
that
they're
makes
all
sense.
based on the Three Musketeers, and Keldeo is D'Artagnan. But I also want to express how, even as an adult, Keldeo is still a free spirit. It's a horse. I don't know how to draw horses. Basically, trial and error until it looks equine. Is that the word, equine?
Equine
Then
is
adding
how
some
I
of
pronounce
Keldeo's
it.
crests and horns throughout the beginning phase. I tried to add the nose that the other three Swords of Justices have. No, actually, that the plural is Swords of Justice. But they're all based on ungulates, while this is a horse, so their cute nose does not work on a long horse's face. So I
Damn.
abandoned that attribute and made it look independent. He's happy and free. Gave him a collar inspired by 17th and 18th century fashion, shorter version of Keldeo's resolute hair, and gave it almost Clydesdale-like fur on its legs that also looks like the cuffs of an outfit. It has the disco aesthetic,
I
almost
like
like
it.
my boy is going out to the club now that he feels independent, refining it a bit and adding
He's
Keldeo's
going
signature
clubbing.
diamond before adding wave patterns on the cuffs. His colors are a dark version of Keldeo's, since if I kept it light, it would look similar to Cobalions' color scheme. I thought the bright red hair was too childish, so I decided to make its color scheme more cohesive and gave it a white wig inspired by 18th century French fashion. Keep in mind that the Three Musketeers takes place a century before this kind of fashion was a thing, but I wanted
makes
Keldeo
sense.
to represent a newer age than the previous Swords of Justice. Check out Keldeo, the stallion Pokemon,
Oh,
a
you
water
gained the
fighting
leg.
type. After training with the Swords of Justice and mastering Sacred Sword, a mature Keldeo evolves into Keldeo. In my future region, it would evolve after learning Sacred Sword and playing with the other Swords of Justice in my region's version of Pokemon Picnic. Keldeo
That
has
makes
conquered
sense.
every trial and surpassed its masters. Keldeo has managed to keep its hopeful disposition upon evolution, but feels responsible to protect people and Pokemon. It has survived harsh battles and developed its horn to
Like a royal knight that has not been corrupted by the greed of those around it.
point where it can slice through anything. Keldeo has gained a following of admirers, and seems to know a friend in every environment it returns to. It continues to travel the world using its water-propelling legs. It can jump higher than any Pokemon by unleashing an endless blast of water from its hooves. It is able to subdue an entire horde of foes using all that it has learned from the Swords of Justice. It has the ability Reckless,
Lovely.
one of the most beautiful shinies known to man. I just realized now that I'm scripting this that I subconsciously incorporated some design aspects from the original Nightwing costume. It makes sense since just like how Nightwing used to be Batman's first Robin, so did Keldeo train under Cobalion and basically become his own superhero. I've always been intimidated by drawing horses, and this is, I believe, my first horse Pokemon. It turned out great. My favorite Fakemon in the video.
I think you did well.
I've wanted since I've laid eyes on Keldeo. Some time-skip character development. My favorite trope.
Alright,
Finally,
who's last?
Marshadow.
Oh.
Love this dude. Its
Okay.
Zenith form is to die for. Cute and cool at the same time. So let's make a more brutish, evolved form. Marshadow is based on the concept of shadowboxing, but it's visually inspired by the Night Marchers of Hawaiian mythology. I'm going to take inspiration from Hawaiian and Polynesian warriors and make a ghost soldier with a more pronounced helmet, cape, and even a ghostly weapon that can transform. It fights in plain sight and will be more colorful.
Nice.
I randomly just found this art right now.
Oh my god.
I want people to see it. Kind of the same concept as what I want to do, but way more friendly
That's
looking.
cool.
It's a buff Marshadow, all grown up and ready to kick ass. While its helmet looks a bit Roman, it's actually inspired by
Now let's see how much. Let's see how if this is better than the one designed by Hoops and Hip Hop.
Hawaiian warrior helmets, same as the wisps on its neck, and side-facing cape. The rest is more fully fleshed out Marshadow, but then I added this ultimate ghost weapon it holds, and Polynesian tattoos and patterns. Now a more saturated version of Marshadow's Zenith color palette, and obligatory accents. This is Totemarch.
Oh yeah,
the
that is
spirit
a
rank
lot
Pokemon,
better.
a fighting ghost type. It evolves from Marshadow after holding a Spectral Spear, an item that also boosts attack and special attack by 1.3 times, but drains HP from non-ghost type holders. Totemarch grow larger as the night becomes darker. They do not hide within the shadows, but prefer to terrify their victims as they slash them with their Spectral Spear. This spirit weapon can turn into a staff, sword, bow, and even shield. Their cape blows in the direction of battle. They have spent centuries as Marshadow learning all of the martial arts humans have to offer, and now utilize it in battle. They feel restless when not engaging in combat. A hardy duel is enough to soothe their tormented soul. Totemarch are said to be the souls of fallen soldiers. Defeating foes in their current state can bring them to tears. The fiery wisp emanating from their eye is said to be an eternal tear, as Totemarch is crying tears of joy after finally vanquishing their enemies. They have the abilities Technician and the sickest shiny in the universe. In the future region I'm developing, you receive the Spectral Spear from a martial arts master in the post-game. So just level Marshadow up with that and it'll evolve. Marshadow is my favorite of the small mythicals, so I'm glad we can potentially make him more beloved by giving him an evolved form.
Yeah,
Hopefully
who would
you
love
like
that?
to help make this video more beloved as well.
Alright folks, that's going to be the end of today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link will be in the description, and I'll see you all folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.